So today we're doing a simple e-commerce shop flat lay, and when I say simple, I mean very simple. There's only a couple things that you need. First thing is a white backdrop. I'm going to go ahead and secure it with some tape because I'm doing two versions of this shot, one with the lid on and one with the lid off, and I just don't want the background to move, so I'm just going to simply tape it to the table. So our product is circular, so it's really easy for it to roll off the table. So if this is you, just get some sticky tack. You can secure it to the spot and then it won't move even if you shake the table, set stuff down. This stuff's a lifesaver. Then you're going to want to set your white balance. White balance is going to be very important because it's an e-com shot. If you're doing a whole collection of e-commerce images, you need to make sure that the background is white and that it's going to look good on the website. So this is how you do that. And lastly, you need a light source. So we have our studio light set back here because the client wanted a harsh light, a harsh shadow to be formed on the side of the bottle. So putting it back here gives us that nice harsh shadow, but now let's figure out how we can control this a little bit more. If I were to raise my studio light, you'll notice that the shadow gets shorter. If I were to lower my studio light, you notice the shadow gets longer. Very, very simple concept, but it's really important that you pay attention to all of these little details. They wanted a shorter shadow, so I'm bringing it higher up. One problem, or pro, depending on how you want to look at it, is when you raise your light up, it becomes further away from the subject. So therefore, there's a little less light in your scene. So you can either turn this light down to be more of a harsh shadow. You could add a whiteboard on this side to bounce some light back in on this side of the scene, or you can adjust your camera settings to compensate for the lack of lighting. So here are the settings that we ended up with based on our lighting. The ISO is at 100. When I'm doing studio work, I don't like that to be any higher than 100 if I can avoid it. Our f-stop is 8. That way everything's in focus. There's not anything going on in the scene. Obviously it's an e-commerce shot, so there's no need for us to bring it higher than that. And then you'll notice the shutter speed is 1/13. The only reason I'm able to go that low is because we are shooting with a tripod, so there's no need to worry about any motion blur in there, and that is the best way to compensate for lack of lighting when you're in a studio setting, but only if you're using a tripod. The biggest piece of advice that I can give you is if you're unsure, just take more shots. Sometimes I like to get multiple images with and without bounce boards so that when I'm editing, I can see what actually looks best. Because sometimes adding a bounce board makes the product look good, but the background doesn't look so good. So always get extra versions. So I'm gonna take this whiteboard I got from the dollar store and I'm gonna get a shot without it. Then I'm gonna get a shot with it here. And what this is gonna do is fill in some of these shadows and make this half of the scene a little less dark and dramatic. And then if I feel like it's too dark on the bottom of the scene, because as you see there's nothing on this side, so it's a little dark, then you can just move this at an angle and really just play around with how the light is moving and shifting.